Hey, we're here and we are going to print a book on demand. We're going to figure out how you can use Lulu and Zapier and programmatically, automatically, in one click and one button, send a message to Lulu and get a book printed on demand. So this is the tool we use. It's called Lulu.com. It's a great service. You can upload basically a PDF file containing your book and then your book cover. And then you can just have this library of books. Here we have kids books, we have regular books, and at any point you just click on add to cart, add it to cart, view cart, and then you can check out here and you can just send a book to basically anywhere in the world. And that's great for one at a time, but how do you do it automatically? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and we'll revisit some of these ideas here that you have your interior, which are your book's pages. You have your book cover, which is the front, back, and spine in a single PDF file. And then a few decisions like, do you want spiral bound, paperback, what's the size of the book? And we'll use this tool, Lulu.com. And then the secret area here is developers.lulu.com. And this is where we will get our, what are called our API keys. And this is where we will see our print jobs. So you see here in Lulu, you can go My Account, Order History, and this is where we can see like there's this book, and here's what it costs to print, and here's what it costs to ship, and it's in production, not yet shipped. Then in developers.lulu.com, we have print jobs, and this is where we can see our like automatic programmatic books about to be sent. So we have print jobs in developers.lulu.com. And then we have My Account orders in regular Lulu.com. Those are the two sites. Lulu calls them orders, and then developers.lulu calls them print jobs. And we will be physically hosting the book interior, the pages, as a PDF file, and then the book cover as a PDF file. And we'll need to get our API keys from developers.lulu.com profile API keys to make it all work. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. So the first step here is to get a book manually uploaded to Lulu. That way they can render it in a print-ready PDF file. And it's a good thing to know anyway. It's a good skill to have, so that way you can send a book to anyone anytime that you want. And so what we do is we go to lulu.com, we log in, then you click on Create a Project. And then once you're here, we always choose Print Book. And then what I like to do is I like to say Publish a Book. And I uncheck this global distribution. And so this way, by doing it in this format, publish your book just to the Lulu bookstore, is you can privately send a copy of your book to someone, but you can also have a special page where they can just order it outright. I find that removes the decision making. Now the first decision we need to make is what's the name of this book. So I have a little test book already called Real Estate for Beginners, and we'll set the language to English, and we'll set the category to business. So we said so far, Lulu.com, My Projects, Create a Project, Print Book, publish your book to the Lulu bookstore, enter a title, English, and then business, add copyright info. So we'll keep the title here. We need an author's name, so I'll put in one of my clients' names here. And keep all the copyright stuff the same, proceed without ISBN, design your book. Now the first thing is it needs the interior of our book. I use Microsoft Word for this. Google Docs is almost there, but not quite yet. And this is my usual template for a book. Here's how I do it, is I create a Word document, and then I go to File, Print, and then Page Setup. And here are my settings. They say paper size, custom size, 6 inches by 9 inches. That is the size of a typical book. right? This is more or less the standard book size. And even if you have a different size, I really recommend you start off with 6x9 and you get fancy later. So we say it's a 6x9 size book. And then for the margins, here's how I usually have it, is I have 0.5 at the top, 0.12 at the bottom, left and right 1 inch. And it's really important also when you set your paper size to apply to whole document. And then when you set your margin size, you also apply to whole document. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then we go back and I go to this style area here and I right click on normal, modify. I set the font size to Palatino Linotype 12-point font. And then in format paragraph, I say spacing after paragraph 14-point font, and then line spacing 1.25. You can set this whatever you want. This is just my preference. As after all, many years, many books, a lot of tweaking, this is how I like to do it. So you set that as your normal, and then you go to your heading 1, you right click and modify, and I just set the heading 1 to 28-point font, bolded, centered, and 24 points before and after, single spaced. Then I set my heading 2 to 18-point font, bolded, centered, before and after 18-point font, single spaced. And then I set the title to 36-point font, bolded, centered, and then I guess no spacing before and after, more or less. And then what I do, so that takes care of the page size, and then the font size, and then on the front page, I just have the title of the book, then the subtitle, and then this little blurb here, all rights reserved, no part of this publication may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, just usual copyright phrase, and then written by, author name, then the copyright, and then the URL, and then a QR code if you are feeling so inclined, and you can use Canva. And then what I do is I do Control Enter to do a page break. And here's where it starts to get a little tricky, because the way that it works is when you first open up, oh geez, I'm not showing my screen. Okay, so anyway, we went through all those settings, right? Here's how all of this is. Let me show this one more time real quick. So normal is Palatino, font size 12. Paragraph is 1.25 line spacing. Then the heading is 28-point fonts and 24 points before and after, single spaced. Then the heading 2 is 18-point font, and then before and after 18 points, single spaced. And then the title, we do 36-point font and single spaced as well. All right, that gets us caught up. Title, subtitle, copyright blurb, author name, copyright, QR code, URL. All right, so now that we're looking back at the screen, basically the first page is what you first see when you open this up, right? And so the first page is what you see when you first open it up. So we just have the title again. And then when you flip the page, we usually want the next page to be blank. So we'll have to use our imagination a little bit and say, okay, well, this first page here, the page 1 more or less, is what you first see when we open up. And then this next one is the back of it, right? And then what do we see after that? We want to see the cover on this other next page. And then we flip that again. Then that's the back of that. And we just want to be aware of what's like a front and what's a back. And what we say is that odd number, like 1 is front, 2 even is back. 1 is front, 2 is back. And then we add our table of contents here by going to References, Table of Contents, Custom Table of Contents, and then we say Show Levels just 1 to show just the heading ones that appear later in the document. And then we say in Layout, we say Breaks, Page break, section break, next page. And then we can double click. And you see how it says header section 1, header section 2, and you unclick this link to previous. And here is where you can then add the the header, and then center it and make it 9-point italicized. And because we unchecked link to previous, now you can see that the first few pages have no header, and then now after this section break, now we have the header and we have the title of the book on the top. Then we double click on the bottom here and we say we say header and footer, page number, bottom of page, center. And then I like to make my page number 20 points. And then take the space out or take anything else out. And that's how we end up with a page header and a page footer. Oops. And you see what happened here is this footer is going backwards. We don't want that. So what we do is we double click, and then in the header footer, want to unclick link to previous, and then go back to heading 1 and just make sure that there's, in the first few pages, there's no header or footer, but then after the section break, and now that we're on section 2, now we have the header we want, which is the title, and the footer we want, which is the page number. So I'll roll back a little bit and get back to how we have this book set up. Okay, so now we need to be really careful and say front, back, front, back, front, back. Then we have the beginning of the book, and we have the first chapter. And in this book I'm holding in particular, I don't really like the way they do it. Is she starts on like the back and the to start the first chapter. So I like to start in the front. So we say front, back, front, back, front, back, and then cool. Now that's the front. And moving forward, any odd number is in the front and any back number is in the back. So that way, when we look at the table of contents here, we make sure that a chapter starts on an odd numbered page. That way it starts on the front and not the back, if that makes sense. And so that's a lot to say that we created our book in Word. It's 6 inches by 9 inches. And then what we do is just say File, Save As, make it a PDF, More Options, and then we'll save it in the Downloads folder, and we'll say Options, PDF A compliant. That just makes less things go wrong as far as this being produced for printing purposes. That takes care of our, here we go, PDF file. That's our interior of the book. Those are the book's pages. And then what we do is, now we can just upload that interior file. So upload your PDF file. Here's what we just saved, this PDF. And then that will take a minute or so to upload. And then while that is saving, oh, it's already saved. Now we choose things like interior color. My default is standard black and white, unless you have a good reason to make it color, but it'll really increase the printing cost. And then paper type, 60-pound white uncoated, unless you want better quality paper, but it'll really increase the printing cost. And then binding type, I do perfect paperback bound, unless you're dead set on things like hardcover or coil bound, but then we're getting more complicated with the measurements. So for now, we can just do paperback perfect bound. And then cover finish, I almost always like the glossy cover. It's kind of like smooth and shiny versus like the rough and not shiny, so choose glossy. And then the next step here is your book cover. All right, so we need to make our book cover. Don't get discouraged. Don't get too sad. So there's two parts of this, like there always is, right? There's the front cover and the back cover, and then there's combining those into make one single flat cover. So before we even get to this in this template, we'll just know ahead of time that we have a 6-inch by 9-inch book. So This part will be 6 inches. This part will be 9 inch. That's kind of the standard book cover size. And then we'll start by making just the quick front cover, and then we'll make the quick back cover. Keep in mind, though, that a book usually has a barcode on the bottom, so we usually try to keep everything from like the top 3/4, and that's it. And we also need to be really careful to not have anything too close to the edge. I like to give myself like about an inch space. And then the other thing that maybe discourages some is something called the bleed. And Lulu will give you 1/8 of an inch all around, which is, for math geeks, 0.125 inches, which means it will have the length of this plus 1/4 inch and the height of this plus 1/4 inch. And the measurements don't have to be exact because we might have to stretch anyway. I'm just letting you know what we're in for. So we'll go to canva.com, which is like a free Photoshop equivalent, but it's web-based and it's a lot faster and it's amazing. Go to create a design, custom size, units, inches, and we want 6 inches wide, 9 inches tall, but then accounting for the bleed. And you don't have to go this advanced, but here's how I do it. I do 6.25 and then 9.25. And then, but we'll be extra careful to not have anything near the edges here. And we create this blank page, and we go to this design, and in these templates, you can search book, you can search children's book if that's what you're creating, you can create, say, medical book, or you can say like real estate book, and see what comes up. So something that caught my eye a moment ago was we did medical book, and I kind of like the look of this. So we click on that, and it drops it in, and then we just do a little customizing. We do a little change of the words, changing of the pictures. So I'll Control A and highlight this, and maybe I'll just kind of make it a little bigger to fill the whole space, and then I'll drag up some of this, and keeping in mind to keep things far away from the edge. And so I think we said like real estate, and we'll change the font size, something like that. And we'll say for beginners. So there's that. And what did we call our book for the sub? Buy, rent, profit. Maybe we'll put that there. Say buy, rent, profit. And then we'll say like, we'll use ChatGPT, right? We'll say the book is called Real Estate for Beginners. What's an idea for a short subtitle or tagline for this? There we go. Build wealth one property at a time. So, and maybe we'll put it in like that. We'll say Dr. Jonathan Crutchfield. And then we don't like that, the hands. So if we say photos, and maybe we'll say real estate, and if we sometimes drag that in, and then if we want to edit that and make it black and white like the other photo was, we can say filter. Isn't there like black and there we go, mono, make it black and white or something like that. And I'm just kind of customize this any which way that we want. And then to make the back cover, we just can click on this add page. Actually, we can do duplicate page, and then just take a few items out, and then maybe we'll add a solid color square, and then sort of position it in the back, and then position two back, maybe something like that. And then we'll say, help me write the back cover. What headline, bullet points, call to action. And this person's website is grabthemap.com. And then keeping in mind we don't want to have it too far down on the bottom, we say apps, and there's a QR code in here somewhere. QR code generator. Uh-oh, I'm not sure which one. So make a URL, and we'll generate a QR code to fill in some of the space. And then we'll just put this blurb in here. And we'll just drop in, size it down. Learn the real estate game and take control of your financial future. Make it italicized, just play around, get the way you want it, right? So we have a QR code, we have a URL, we space these out the way you want it. Okay, and then what we do is we go share. Oh yeah, and also we can name these. So we say pencil mark, this is the back, and then pencil mark, this is the front. And we share, download, PNG, and we save just the front. And then share, download, PNG, and save just the back. So now we saved an image of the front, an image of the back, but we need to put it all together. So we go on Lulu here, and we click download template. And then that downloads a PDF file. And then I like to go to this web page called Cloud Convert, select file, and upload the PDF, and then convert it to a PNG. It just makes it a lot simpler dealing with a flat image instead of the PDF they give us. So what we'll do now in a moment, I know this is a little bit of math, but we will be creating a new Canva document that's 12.567 inches by 9.25 inches. So we go back to Canva, go here to Home, create a design, inches again, but this is 12.567, and then height 9.25, create new design. And now you can see, based on the size, it's back cover, spine, front cover. Click Uploads, Upload Files, and, we didn't save from Cloud Convert, so click Download. And now we double click, and this is the template they gave us, so we just carefully put it on, snap it to the corner, drag it over here, and then upload files, and we upload our front, upload our back, and then we can position these a little bit, put it kind of like there, and put the front in here and put it kind of like there. Now, how do we get it to line up exactly or close to? You go to File, Settings, Show Rulers and Guides, and what that will allow you to do is you can go to this ruler here and kind of put this at about 1.25. Will they let you do it? Add guides, custom, to 1.25. Put you, maybe not. Shoot. All right, forget it. So we'll just position these as close as we can. We might have to zoom in a little bit and just get it. So I'll put that there, and I'll lock it. So I'll say lock. Okay. And then we'll just position these as close to the edge, or close to the boundary as possible. 0.125. Can't really get it zoomed in, but that's okay. And so what we'll do, and like sometimes I put a a guide right in the dead center. And I'll just sort of try my best to size this. And you look at these boundaries here, right? This light blue, that's the bleed. We really don't want to have anything important there at all. And then this kind of dark blue, that's the safety margin. So we do our best to just kind of position this as close to this as we can, knowing that it doesn't quite take up the whole space. And then we can play around with Alt resize or Control resize and get it like just about to the size that we want, just about lined up. And then I can do this transparency and kind of dim these a little bit, because we do want to fill in the spine. And as you can see, it's not exact, but we do want to have some kind of a cover on this, or text on the spine. So click on Elements, Shapes, Square, and then we can just make this the whole size of the document. And then for the color, it says, well, we don't want the colors from the template, but we do want the blue from the cover. So we make it that and position, maybe backward to back, forward, and get it sort of close enough. And we just play around with the transparency. And backward, let's see. So we do want to have somewhat of a spine text, and you can see here that we want it to be kind of right there's more or less where the spine, how the spine's going to be. Okay, so it is a little tricky to get it like just the way you want it with the spine. I'll put the guide there, I'll put the guide there. This is the center of the whole document, I guess. And then we can do some text, add a heading, and we'll say this is real estate for beginners, and set the font size, make it super small because you want it to still fit. And then you see how there's this kind of turny thing. So turn it till it's 90 degrees exactly, and then position it wherever it makes sense here on the spine. And then we copy and paste to copy, and then I like to have the author name further down. And then we say Jonathan Crutchfield. Where does it make sense to position that? And I'm the kind of person where I like to have the spine text smaller than it needs to be, just because it's one more thing to go wrong. So here we go. We've got the author name, and we'll just kind of position this cover back where we wanted it to. Position this cover back where we wanted it to. And then somewhere in here, oh yeah, we had that. So put that back there. Whoops. And maybe we'll lock that also. Lock position. We'll put the front there. And then, oh, does it kind of stick out some? Not sure. We'll see how that works. All right. So we might have a little guess and check, but we sort of have our borders, and then we have all that, and we'll just do share, download, PDF print, flatten PDF, CMYK. So share, download, PDF print, flatten, CMYK. We download that, and then we'll see how good a job we did whipping up something really quickly with the template, with the customization, with the getting everything just about right. I'm not sure how centered that is. You can kind of guess from the guides. I'm not too sure. We go back to Lulu, upload your PDF file. Oh no, that's not the right one. Oh wait, we went too fast. So wait for that to be done so we can upload the one that we wanted. Replace your PDF file with the real estate for beginners. All right. I accidentally uploaded the template, but we'll upload the cover that we just created. And then now down below here is where the preview will load. And it only takes a few seconds. It used to take minutes. It used to take 15, 20 minutes. But once this is done, we'll be able to flip through the book and say, okay, do I like how the back and the front and the opening it up looks? So here we go. And then so it kind of gives us the borders here. So the buy, rent, profit, it's close, it still works. The E, it's a little close for comfort, but it still is okay. Here's the front. We can kind of click through, and does everything seem okay? Is the text inside the danger area? Maybe we might adjust the page numbers, but more or less, this is good for a test book. And then what we do, here's the most important part in a moment for setting it up programmatically. You click on this print ready files. We can always come back to this, but this is the print ready cover and interior for Lulu, all kind of ready to go here. So that's really important. We click on add book details, and we finish up with just the ChatGPT generated text, right? Here's the book details, and then by default, I just set the category to business, main category, business, and then keywords, I just enter the author name, and then so what I do is I type the author name, and then do a comma, and it makes it a tag, and then audience general. So those are just my default settings, keeps me from guessing, keeps me from wasting time. Click on add pricing. I'll just sell it for 10 cents more than it costs to print it. Select from payees, JumpX LLC, so that means I'll pay myself. And then final review. Here we go, here's how it looks. And confirm and publish. Give that a moment, because there's one final step here. And so this is not quite yet at the getting it ready to sell programmatically, but at least this way we have the ability to send it manually. And I like having this step. So then either you can sell it general in their public directory or private just you, but I prefer to do this select access and then click on publish to the Lulu bookstore. And this kind of gives us a middle ground where we can mail books on our own, or we can at any time go to my projects, and then we just set up real estate for beginners. Or no, we set up, let me see what we did set up. Here we go, real estate for beginners. Here's the cover. And then you click on this, so you can either add this to cart, or you can click on this select access. And this is a web page you can give to literally anybody, and they can go through and they can click add to cart, and they can use Lulu. They can give their credit card to Lulu and order books from Lulu and get it to their door. So this is like Amazon, but with Amazon you need to follow certain rules, and with Lulu it's published instantly. Anyone can buy a copy of the book. So great. That is how we set up on Lulu. But now it's time to set it up on developers Lulu, and to use what's called their API, so we can manually order copies of our book in one click. So here's what we do, is we will get our cover PDF and our interior PDF. And then something that's a little difficult is this thing called a pod package ID. And these are basically your settings for the entire book. And if you look really carefully, this part here says I want it to be a 6x9 book. I want this to be black and white pages. I want standard printing, paperback. I want it to be a 60 pounds uncoated white page. And I want it to be glossy. That's what the G is. So we'll have the cover PDF, interior PDF, pod package ID, and then in developers.lulu.com, we'll go to profile API keys. So now it's time to check out developers.lulu.com, and they have somewhere in here, they have documentation where specifically, so they say like get your client key and your secret. And then they explain this with the pod package ID, how it's the trim size, black and white, standard, linen, paper, coating, and all that. But I recommend, again, just start off with this template, which will give us a 6x9 book, black and white pages, glossy cover, best bang for our buck. And then we'll use Zapier. And for Zapier, what you have to do is you have to hit the Lulu API and say, here's my secret key. And then it gives you an authentication token, kind of like a cookie. And then you go in and you place the order for the book. And I give you all the templates, everything to paste in. So let's start here by getting our 2 PDFs that we just downloaded from Lulu online. So we just now saved this print ready here. So right click and we'll extract all. And we save these 2 PDF files, the cover and the interior. And if you know Amazon S3 or you know FTP or WordPress, you do whatever you can to get these PDF files online. So I will log in to my Ontraport account. I go to the rightmost corner, Administration, then File Manager. Here are my files. Click Upload File, Browse Computer, and we want the E7 folder here. And we just upload both of these 2 PDF files. And then I guess I will just open a notepad to hold these in a moment. And then we sort by date uploaded. And we just uploaded these 2. So we have the cover. And we'll click on copy. And can we easily tell that what that is? No. So we'll say here's the cover. And then we'll say interior. So click on interior and copy this. And so I know it looks scary, it looks like a lot of code and stuff like that, but all we did was we uploaded a file and then we got the web page URL for that file that we uploaded. And Lulu will need both of these 2 things in a moment. And then now that we have those uploaded, then we will set up a Zap and we'll set up these 5 steps. We'll say in Ontraport, when a contact is added to this tag, then figure out the country code, such as US, figure out the state code, such as CA or AL. Then we'll post to Zapier once to basically log in, and then post to Zapier a second time to then send the order for the book. And what we'll do in Ontraport here is we'll go to Contacts, Settings, Manage Tags, New tag, Outreach Book 1, and then save that Ontraport tag. Now we log into Zapier.com, click Create Zap. We'll go to Untitled Zap and call this, say, Ontraport to Lulu. And we need to set up our 5 steps. It always starts with the trigger. What starts the action? Click on Trigger, click Ontraport, log in if you need to, and then we'll say what will trigger it. Well, we don't want a new contact. We want if a tag is added to this contact. Then continue. And then the tag, well, we need to load our tags. And so what we would do is we're looking for Outreach Book 1 that we just created. Oh, no, it's not in here, because we need to keep loading and load more and load more and load our Ontraport tags. There's a few hundred. I think there's like 750 in this account. We need to load all the tags. That way we can find just the right one and get it hooked up. So here we go, Outreach Book 1. And then object type, we want contacts. Be really careful. We don't want users. We want contacts. Then continue, and then test your trigger. And to test that, so we went and edited a contact in Ontraport, and what we do here is we see contact tags, we click add, and we'll add outreach.book1, and now this contact is outreach.book1. We go back to Zapier, and the latest was subscriber C, and so we should see this subscriber D in a moment. once this, here we go, here's subscriber D, and here's what I just created. So continue with subscriber D, and now, so that's what triggered this, right? Is if we add the tag outreach.book1 on one of the Ontraport users, that kicks us into action. So then what we'll do next is, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but Ontraport in particular saves a country name as United States, but we want it to be US, and it saves a state name as California, but we want it to be CA. So that's where these instructions come in, and that's what we'll say. We want to choose AI by Zapier, and we want to analyze and return data. So for action number 2, if we don't see this AI by Zapier, we just search AI by Zapier, and then the only choice is analyze and return data. And I don't know if it lets us do it without the prompt assistant. I just want to set this. All right, so prompt builder, and we'll grab, this is just what I want to do. So prompt, there we go. So we don't need this builder, we just place this in the prompt, which is that we want to get this changed to a 2-letter country code. And we'll rename this to country code, that way we know what it's doing. And we need to be really careful that the output is something that we can easily use. So we'll say the output field is ISO code. We'll copy that, put it as the field name, and then the field description is, it's just this 2-letter code. And then if we test the step, I use myself as the contact, United States, country code US. So that worked. Oh no. Okay, so we publish that, but we have more steps to do. Oh, so we didn't want to do that. Okay, so then we want to edit Zap, want to continue building this out, click the plus, another AI by Zapier, because we also want to transform the state code as well. So we go over down here to the state code, and this is a slightly different prompt here that just says, like, I want you to take California to CA. So we paste in that prompt, and then the output is ISO code. Be really careful about spaces. And then this is the 2-letter state code. So continue, and then test that step. Oh no, why did that not work? 2-letter state code. Oh, I know why. Because we need to plug in the actual merge field here. So we'll do the state. So in Ontraport, choose the state. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, state code. Now we test it. There we go, CA. And now I need to go back to the other stuff and make sure I'm plugging in the proper field, because that was really bad. So we edit this. How do we edit the Zap? Country code, configure. Given the following country code, click the plus, and we say country. And choose the proper country. Okay. So now we'll retest that. And the output is US. And then, all right, so now we have our Ontraport trigger, we have the country code, and the, so then this is the state code, okay? And then now we have to do our 2 calls to Lulu. So we'll go to step 4, and we'll do a webhooks by Zapier. It will be a post, and it will be this URL, payload type form. So we say add step, webhooks. Here we go. And then it will be post, continue, URL, I gave it to you in the instructions, and then payload type form. Then we say grant type is client credentials. Then add value set. We want client ID. And then we want client's secret. And both of these we will grab from Lulu. So we'll go back to developers.lulu.com, go Profile, API Keys. And I'm going to pause the video because I don't want to show my API keys. But you can rest assured that I entered those in. Then we say wrap request in array, no. Then unflatten, yes. So we leave all that as is. And then headers, content type, and enter that in. Okay. And then continue. I guess I showed you my Lulu key, but I can regenerate it after doing this video, so that's okay. We'll test the step, and it looks like it worked. We didn't get any kind of error, so that's great. And then, can we just go to the next step? Okay, so that does the next step. So now we can rename this as Lulu Authentication, and then we need to make the actual call to mail the book. So next, we'll say custom request, post, give it this URL, data pass through false. So click on this plus, webhooks, and then this will be, instead of post, a custom request. Then the method is post, URL will be this, data pass through false. And the reason why we did it as a custom request is instead of where we have the different columns and the fields, now we can just paste in a big blob here. And so what we'll do here is we will highlight all of this and we'll paste it all in here. And then there's a few things to customize. So I need to enter my email address, and in a moment I'll pause the video and put in my email. That way every time there's a programmatic book sent, I get an email. But then we can also plug in things like the source URL for the cover, which remember we save this here. So here we have the cover. We'll be careful to not mess up the quotes, okay. And then we have the interior. So we'll plug in the interior there. And here's this pod package ID, which remember said 6x9 black and white pages, paperback, 60-pound paper with the glossy cover. And then title of the book. This one we called Real Estate for Beginners. And then here we plug in the different fields here. So for city here, we click on the plus, and then in Ontraport, we plug in the city. Okay. Next, for email, or see, country, well, yeah, country code, we have to be careful because, actually, I'll take I put these here, that way you don't miss any, but I'll take all the placeholders out. And okay, so there's the placeholders. So we'll plug in our country code and our state code, being careful to do it from the AI steps, not the Ontraport steps. So click on this, and we'll say country code is ISO code, all right. And then state code, whoops, state code, plugged in the right location. State code, plug that in. All right, then plug in the customer's email. So Ontraport email. Then customer's first name, space, last name. Then customer's, do they have a phone number? Yep, SMS number. Then postal code, and then street address. Does this person not have one? Dang it. Oh, here we go. I had to scroll down. So there's street address. I think there's a street too as well. So let me just fudge this and say street 2 and plug in address 2. I hope that doesn't break what we're doing here. And then leave shipping level at mail. And then I'll pause the video and write in here, I'll enter my email address. Now we click continue. And here's all this. And we'll test this. authentication credentials not provided. Aha. So the reason why this is because we have to test from the beginning. So we go and we say tag added. We'll use this record, continue, and then we'll retest the step. And that'll give us US country code. And then we'll retest this step. And this will give us the state. And then we'll authenticate. And we'll retest this step. Authenticate. Ooh, I know what we're missing. We forgot one other thing. Hang on a second. So what we did here is we add the data, but then we need to actually authenticate. So my mistake. So then we say content type. So on this other step here, we weren't done. We go content type, and we'll say application JSON. And then add another value set here, which is authorization. And we'll say bearer, and then the plus sign, and plug in from the authentication step this access token. Okay, so click on continue, test the step. Oh no, did that not work? Maybe it's this, authorization is not a legal header name. Authorization. Why did that not work? It's acting like there's a space. So authorization. Test step. Okay, so I think I just had an extra space in there. Now it looks like it worked, and it came back with all of this stuff. So no error, seemed to work. And then we can click on publish, and we can test this by going back to developers.lulu.com, and then we click on print jobs and see if that contact just had a new order. And here we go, and I've covered up the customer data because YouTube deletes your video if you try to have customer data in a video. But rest assured, this contact I just created, it has an order, and it says, well, the address doesn't match exactly, but so you can either click on pay or you can cancel this from being shipped out. And so your first few orders, you can test it out this way. And then if you trust it, you can just go to profile, payment, and billing data, and then enter in all your default billing information, and then these orders will go right out after the Programmatic API messages come in. And the way we've set this up with Zapier is all we have to do is add the tag outreach.book1 to our contact, and then that will trigger the message to Lulu and get the book sent out. So that is how we use Zapier to connect Ontraport and Lulu. The first part that's a little difficult is that we have to create the PDF file, which is the interior, create the cover, send it to Lulu, get it all set up just for the purposes of downloading the print-ready cover and book. Then we put those files online on a publicly accessible link, and then that gives us enough to set up the Zap, where we say, if someone adds on Ontraport, create the 2-letter country code and state code, and then send it, authenticate to Zapier, and then send in the actual order for the book. And that's how it's done, and that's how we send a book with Lulu on command.